Thank you all. On day 4 of Bridges, uh, so we have a very young and happening panel of second generation entrepreneurs who have taken their family's legacy forward. I'm first generation, so I'm the ultimate AI evangelist. I think AI is going to take over everything except consciousness. So we have different spectrums in different views in that spectrum. So I'd like to everybody to make a quick introduction to themselves, and then I'll kind of start the questions. And we'll make it interactive also. We'll love to get thoughts because I know that this is one group. There will be AI naysayers and technology naysayers, and there will be techno optimists, and there will be people who are somewhere in between. So Vidyun, just a quick introduction.
Hi, my name is Vidyun. I am the storyteller at Haveli, Dharampura. I tell the story of my father's love story with Old Delhi.
Lovely. Suyash.
Hi, my name is Suyash. I head operations at Travel Bureau, our company in Agra, and 12 other cities. Similar, I am trying to take my father's legacy forward. Yes, thank you.
And hello, everyone. I'm Avijit from the house of ROHET in Jodhpur. Third generation in the hospitality. And yeah, basically looking after what is essentially a family business and holding things together to the best of to the best of my abilities and taking the legacy forward.
Yeah, so in fact, I always say that Mohan set up my first holiday to your place almost when with my 1-year-old daughter Shobna and I went to your beautiful place. And I was telling him I have such fond memories of your father talking with Toby Saab's son about his passion for horses. So that has always remained with me.
I think about time you came back as well.
So what I'd love to understand is a specific anecdotal thing that people can all understand on how, what about digital is, how are you using digital uh, in your business, in your operations, in your storytelling to connect with not only the new gen of travel, but all types of travel?
I'll start.
Vidyun, yeah?
When the first time we were making Haveli Dharampura, my dad spent 3 months in designing the room booklet you have in every room. Okay, he never bothered to check what website we are making. I think that's where our journey started, right? With a small website where we could tell our own story. From there, it went to the digital age. I think at a time, we started telling our story only after we opened, but that was what was powerful, I feel. That we got the liberty to tell our own story in our own way, and hence people started discovering us from around the world through our stories digitally, through social media, that time Facebook, Instagram, even Twitter. Um, and then obviously with the new technology coming in, I think the content is becoming even more important. I think this is the first year since we started in 2016, that we have started creating our own content for the first time. But our content is not the only one. Still now, who has been telling our stories are the people who have come and stayed with us. So their content becomes equally important, and that was also just possible because digitally they were sharing those content with us. And people were getting to know our stories through their stories.
Nice. Suyash?
Uh, so I'll take a different trajectory to this, but my career started in investment banking. I am from an IIM, ISB, Kellogg kind of a background in MBAs. But at one point, I realized that coming back into travel has been an extremely rewarding experience, and I can see that everybody in this room has enabled life memories for someone, like core memories with your family, with children, or experiences of sights and smells and sounds which actually transcend and live as memories. And being able to do that now uh, actually feels very, very rewarding. And so I believe that like those stories that Vidyun was just talking about, we've been creating those stories or enabling those stories, and now having channels to be able to capture those stories and amplify them at other on different social media or even word of mouth seems like a g- seems like a great opportunity that now even more can be doubled down on. Especially very quickly, so I feel that, and I've also been extremely into technology and AI and all of that, is that I think for travel, for anyone around travel, it's going to be, we should treat AI as a collaborator, because creating experiences which people can see, feel, touch, experience overall, like a horse ride or just a story like that, cannot be done remotely on a computer screen behind an AI, but AI can help us propagate that.
I want to come back to what you had discussed about the analysis of all that trip data and all that. We'll come back to that. Avijit?
Yeah, I'm going to speak a little from the low-end spectrum, low-tech end of the spectrum. So, just a little anecdote. When I joined the family business back in 2015, hotels were not even listed on a single OTA. We had a website that was made on Flash and was glitching back in 2015 already. So it was a long journey from there, since typically as a family we've been technologically resistant, and me as not even a tech enthusiast was the go-to tech support. So, so it was a journey from there. And as the rock rolls down the hill, it gets rounder. By and by, it was a learning curve, but it has made tremendous difference in the way, not just the way we tell our stories, but the way our guests and our future guests, and even those who don't stay with us, but are interested in what we are doing, experience our stories. Be it social media, be it the way people write about us online, and now, of course, with AI, I did, coming back to what you said, I did a chat GPT to the question you had sent us in the brief: what personality would your brand be? So I asked chat GPT that same question, just to see what comes up. And it said, if House of Rohit were a person at a gathering, they'd be the one seated gracefully in a quiet corner, sipping perfectly brewed masala chai from a hand-thrown ceramic cup, draped in a linen kurta. You know where this is going. So, this is, uh, the, it's a work in progress. It may not be 100% accurate yet, but it is moving in the right direction. And what's exciting is that we get to guide it.
Yeah. I think that's the one very important thing. People think that ChatGPT, you just put it stuff. I think the ability for the subject matter expert to guide what the output is very, very important, and people are not seeing the power of it. For instance, that day when Amina Beg shared her presentation, I was able to generate in her voice a crisp summary and a blog on what she had shared. It was not ChatGPT. It was her speaking. It is her authentic voice. And I think that's the power. It will free up a lot of people like you, Vidyun. The thing that you mentioned, that you have no time to tell the story. You will be able to tell the story. It's different from, 4 Point Sheraton cannot tell any story. It will tell its story because it has a marketing arm. But each of you have the ability now to tell your story at an order of magnitude, which was earlier not possible, because you have unique stories to say. With that context, I'd love to get, Suyash, your point on how you're using that for data analysis very quickly.
Uh, so I've been, because I kind of enjoy the back-end operational work, and also because we're a travel company with multiple offices, multiple people coming in. Uh, we Operational efficiency and creating delight for a customer at various points wherever we can is something that really helps us. So now with like a very small example I want to give is that we got this little AI model which we put on a WhatsApp group of our company. It goes through all the chats across and understands trends, gets information, builds knowledge, because we've been chatting on the group about some problem, some issue, or a great review, or a bad review, or something that went right and something went well. And we've been able to get like trends, analysis, topics, everything, which is our own knowledge. It's basically taken our own knowledge, organized it, brought it to some level, and then going forward is something forward. For you spend 10 minutes with me, I'll make your website now. In 10 minutes. That's how much time does it take?
I think adding on to him, I think something
Great
also
website.
what we've started doing is because you want to know how people talk about you, right? And that may not be only on OTAs, reviews, or on TripAdvisors, but people are talking about you in different ways, in different forms. But today's technology, I mean, I don't have it personally, but there are agencies out there and there are tools out there who will tell you the feel, the pulse of your hotel. And that's what we do also track, right? The good things and the bad things. So we do track that, and we get reports monthly saying that, okay, so this is what is going right and this is what is going wrong, and which is basically telling you in general about the pulse of the hotel and what people are feeling in a summary from different areas. And that might be somebody's commenting on a blog somewhere or anything.
How important is digital engagement to you in your priority? How much of time do you spend engaging with on the digital channels, Avijit?
So on the digital channels, so firstly, social media, we are fairly active and we've seen good results thanks to it. Um, it was a learning curve on how to get to the right content for the right audience and what to put out there, what not to put out there. But over the years, we have basically figured out what works for us, and that's a very effective medium for storytelling for us. In terms of other digital media kind of outlets, the OTA space has been fantastic for us. Uh, it put out content that generally was not available on the public domain easily. Our website also, the way it was structured, you would have to dig a lot deeper, whereas some experiential OTAs highlighted what was buried deep on a website. For example, we have one of the popular activities that we do is a culinary session. Because my grandmother was a great cook, and she even authored 2 cookbooks on Rajasthani cuisine. So this is one of our activities and not even our main activity. And it was buried fairly deep on our website as well. Now what happened with a website like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the rep from there spoke to us and they made it kind of a highlight of the deal that they were putting up. And suddenly we get so many more culinary queries out of that. So that way it's been, again, from the low-tech end of the spectrum.
No. What I want, just quickly, if you could give me a sense of how important digital is as part of your business. Is it 10%? Because I know you are very high-end properties, so I mean experiential. So it may not be a significant part of your business, but how important is? Yeah.
So there's a light coming, so I can't see you looking at it. It's fairly important actually, because we, as I said, we started marketing after we started the operations, which was a very bad idea. But so digital came first to us. B2B trade came second. And like I said, when my father was spending time in non-digital things, I had set up the social media accounts and the websites before we launched the Haveli. So I have always focused on digital as being an equal arm. And not necessarily that it generates business for you. The digital arm is extremely important because it creates your presence. People remember you. When you meet somebody, they will say, oh yes, I saw something about that. I don't know exactly, and you can then talk about it. But It's equally important now to connect with the B2B trade, so we send out newsletters. It's important that we're active on LinkedIn, we're active on Instagram, and the combination of all that, I think that's what helps us.
But the next question I wanted to understand is also about influencers. I mean, that didn't exist 8, 10 years ago. They come and tell the stories. How have you seen that change? Any of you can, Suyash, Avijit?
You want to start? And
No, you're the influencer queen.
I have actually not focused
Oh, you're
on
not,
I
okay.
have not focused on that. We do get influencers who come and stay with us, and we constantly get emails from people who say they're influencers. But I think that is not one segment
Not.
we have tapped a lot into.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that, yeah.
Sorry, I'll take again a contrarian view. I have a fairly dim view of influencers, but also depends. It's a pinch of salt taken. I feel that the number of followers is not the correct amplification. It also depends on, while there would be some similarities in the hotel properties here, but I would definitely never be able to say that a Haveli Dharampura or a House of ROHET can, a travel influencer who's basically doing Maldives properties is a very different aspect also. Also, I don't see that, at least in my experience, I haven't seen that consumption or things going through. Whereas, if on a storytelling basis or creating of small experiences at your properties, which is now becoming more and more, which could be from a very simple thing as a, live music performance, which happens and which usually is very soulful, to now projection mapping on, which has become also very easy, on properties which again have history, which have legacy, which are, those when created, that is what I want to go and see. I don't want to see another person just taking their different shots of themselves, which I
Yeah,
feel
but that's
so.
also very important to see that you pick the right
Yeah.
influencers. That's why I said that we do constantly get emails from people who claim to be, but they're not the right, they may not be the right fit. So getting the right fit is very important, because otherwise you're not reaching the right audience who may or may not, love to stay in your property or have an experience.
yeah, I am in agreement with that. I have had my fair share of experience with influencers over the last 10 years because, as I said earlier, came in completely deer in headlights 10 years ago. So we tried every avenue. So with some experience, I can say influencers as such, in my opinion, are a dying breed.
I agree.
Dying breed.
Uh,
No, but you'll have
yeah.
to tell me
Yeah.
a good and the bad. You
Yeah,
can't-
I will.
It's not unipolar.
Yeah. So, what is considered an influencer now is not what was considered an influencer 10 to 15 years ago.
That's true.
Influencer does not mean somebody who takes pretty pictures of themselves in various outfits and basically wrangles a free stay out of you. That is a con. And just like Vidyun said, we receive about 10 to 15 queries every day on our social media and email platform of some influencer or the other from some corner of the country or the world wanting to post about us in exchange of a free stay.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. What we look for is skill in people who create content. We look at the quality of their images. We look at the quality of their videos, irrespective of their followership, as that image or video or basically the content that they create, even if it is a text that is written by them. The quality of that is very valuable to us, not their followership.
And Avijit, my biggest failure in the last 3 years has been my inability to make Shobha a digital influencer. That has been my biggest failure. I
No,
said,
but I would say thank you. Because she, at least, that is the breed of influencer who will remain. Because that is, it has remained I think that is a brand that is created without social media.
No, but you're missing. But Suyash, but the era has moved. The era of talking to 10 people has gone. I mean, the fact is that we're all discussing editorial creation, right? Curation. So if you have the quality of the influencer is what matters.
Exactly.
They would have rather had a Shobha being the influencer who would have told the story rather than having some random person.
Yes.
So I am saying, if you look at it, Modi ji's first interview was to Lex Friedman, who nobody in the world, in India, had heard of, except a few people like us. That was his first interview. That's what I'm saying. We have to understand that Beer Biceps has had more interviews than a lot of people in the mainstream media. So if it is the quality of that engagement that is important. Now, the one point that we had discussed, sorry, Vidyun, you were saying something before I move. Yeah.
No, I think you.
Yeah. So,
if just a small point I could make there is, that's the difference. Basically, for the large part of the people who are here, etc., someone like a Beer Biceps, 99% of his followership, or probably more than that, will never come to a Haveli, Dharampura, or a ROHET, or a something. So it's just pointless. Whereas Shobha ji talking to 10 people anywhere, in any, has a much higher
But his 1%
percentage.
will also be very large. Okay?
No, but
for an investment banker, that is a statistically invalid hypothesis. We don't know. The other point, actually an interesting point you had raised, now I want to open it up to this question. Do you think, and you can answer, and he had a point, which I agree with, do you think with the profusion of AI, you can lift your hands, and suppose it explodes and it becomes the norm, do you think travel will increase or reduce? Who thinks travel will reduce? Okay, then who thinks travel will increase?
Already.
Okay. And maybe you can say, why do you think it will increase?
Because I think I will get most of my admin work done by AI eventually. Which is, and only things that I have to physically move for will become something that I have to do. And that's where people will free up their time, energy, effort, and also like they have to experience in real life. Because you will, a lot of things that go on in the day, you can actually eventually move to AI.
So I'll give you a real case study. Yesterday we had to analyze 278 responses, and some of them I had given 3. Each per hotel for the popular category. There were 600 responses. Jeannie, who's part of the ops team of, was going to count it manually. I said there is a data interpreter tool. I'll put it there, and it gave a statistical count of all the mentions of the top hotels, and that was done in 5 minutes. So I saved her 2 hours of time. So I mean now that will happen across all of you. So there will people have enough time. There will be abundance of time. The notion of job will go. I mean, why do people do job? They do undertake a set of tasks. Bill Gates, 3 days ago, spoke about the notion of the job scarcity. He said that will not exist. There will be no jobs. I mean, in the sense that people, what do you go to a job? You go to do certain things, right? So there will be abundance. So the people who are able to unlock this value of abundance of time will come for experiences. But the catch is, how do you make money? Right? That's going to be.
The travel industry and adjacent will make money because people want to experience stuff. And you can't see, like very simple example, आपने 2 घंटे बचा लिए for doing that mundane or whatever task, right? And you went around, spoke to 5 people, had an experience. You went around the gardens of the ROHET hotel and you had a coffee, which right now, but you brought revenue to the hotel. And that's where I'm saying that you will be able to very much automate mundane tasks and free up your time to go stuff and do stuff.
So I'd love to get people now to share some thoughts on this. Anybody?
So there's so much conversation around on the use of ChatGPT and AI. What I want to say is that AI and ChatGPT will help people build itineraries, will help discovery, but I think the devil is in the detail. So the delivery of the experience is not something that any of these is going to enable. So I think for all of those who are focused on translating what's sitting on an itinerary into a real experience, I think they don't have to think about becoming redundant in the foreseeable future. I mean, I can't predict the future, but I know for now that it's really about delivery.
Mohan's business is safe, I can tell you. Any other?
It's good to hear your views. I have a couple of questions, but my first question is that how do you do real-time analysis of how this is translating into business?
Sorry?
How do you do real-time analysis of all your digital efforts, how it is translating into business? Is this just the kick that you all get, or is it really bringing you? I'm sure it is bringing you business, but is there a way to analyze it? That's the question.
So you want to take that first and follow?
You go for it.
Can you all hear Suyash? Is it okay? Or the volume needs to go up?
It depends on the chat. Like if you're being able to capture the source of the query. If I have to give you an example, personally, very short example, we do travel around this music festival every year in December. We last year put up a chatbot which was trained on it and could take bookings. We had a 304% increase. And I didn't do a single word of conversation. People came. Obviously, it was a captive kind of a situation where, yes, we were being promoted by someone to do that we are the providers of here. But I did nothing. And we had, at least from like the year before, we tried to capture that how many bookings do we get from. And we had a 304% increase there and there. So if you're being able to capture who is the query coming from, what is the source of the business, then yes. Effectively, I would say that even if you're not able to capture the exact source of business, definitely it's helping somewhere or the other.
Speaking from a low-tech aspect, again, I am not nearly as savvy as Suyash or even Vidyun for that matter, but it is fairly quantifiable. To state the obvious, you can always say how much OTA generates for you every year. But other than that, from a kind of marketing perspective, social media perspective, you can tell quantifiably how the conversation about your product shifts with what you put out. If I start putting out, for example, one of the main things we do is horses and activities with our horses, horse safaris. If I put out more content pertaining to the equestrian activities at the House of ROHET, suddenly I see a marked increase, not immediately, but gradually over time, thanks to good content, in interest about our equestrian activities. It is not accurately quantifiable, but no kind of marketing is, really. Like, how do you quantify an article in a magazine? What that brings you. But it shifts the conversation to the direction you want it shifted. And that can be gamed. If I see, for example, I see better returns, better margins on X activity, then if I start propagating that, not immediately, but eventually, I will start seeing returns in what I propagate. And I will not in what I don't. So that's my take on it.
I also feel you can fairly quantify it, but also you need to understand what is your end goal, you should know. So digital marketing, I will divide it into 3 aspects. One, you're just purely doing it for branding, and that will bring you long-term gains because people recognize your brand, they know about your story, they know something like this exists. So when they will have their travel plans, they will come in. That is first. But it creates a long-term impact if you have the right content. The second elements of it, what he was talking about, OTAs, I have dealt with I've tried all kind of tools on OTAs and they do work very well. I mean, you can quantify whether the tool works or not very well. You can see whether this tool increased your booking or it does not. And I have tried all of them and you can fairly quantify it and most of them don't. But This is the second element of it. The third is the digital spend. If you spend on Insta ad, LinkedIn ads, any kind of advertisements, those are now very easily trackable, right? You can create a lead-based campaign, you could track, and I do a weekly call with my social media team. So I exactly know in this week, how are they doing, what is the kind of quality of leads which are coming in, because sometimes in the middle, my team was telling me they're getting calls at 2 a.m., weird calls, right? So we definitely knew that the demographics of the ad spend we have created is wrong. During the Valentine's Day, we definitely run a campaign in Delhi because we feel it's a great space for somebody to see it. And we select demographics for women because women will actually select their Valentine's dinner, not men. And you can see the difference between the two. So it is very much quantified depending upon how you analyze the data. But you have to not analyze it once a year. You have to analyze it every week. In fact, my reports come in twice a week. So I analyze the data twice a week.
Of an inbound travel company. So, and I'm very keen on learning a little more from you, Suyash, about how you have successfully managed to automate the mundane. Because see, like Shilpa said, the devil is in the details, and the detailing is what takes time. Experiences are great, and obviously you need a quality person in terms of storytelling, in terms of interpreting things, on that experience. That's one part of it. The other part of it is the logistics of those experiences on the ground. So a lot of time goes, in making sure, and making coordinating, like everything, like a call or a mail or a WhatsApp or whatever. It's like adds to the already. It's not like, like for example, if I had a client going to, let's say, House of ROHET and, there is a cooking experience. So it's not that I'm just telling Avijit that, okay, hey, you know what, this is it. Cooking experience, this is the voucher and we're done with it. We go, 4 steps beyond that, speak to Avijit, give him a little background, of the client, all those things. All this takes a lot of time. So that's another, aspect that we can discuss that privately as well if you want. But yeah, I'd like to know more about how, in general, also for the benefit of the audience, if you can highlight a little bit on that.
Very quickly, specifically addressing, say, inbound B2B, where FTOs or whoever is involved, for that I see a limited scope of as such digital marketing or digital ads or something. Because for these guys, even for us, sometimes when we are selling a very quantifiable product, which is a room night, a car, an equestrian activity with a room night and something which is packaged in. For inbound companies, there's a lot of conversation that has to go in. Because you're not good. So something which is quantifiable, 2,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees, 25,000 rupees. But very okay, check in, check out, this many days, these many rooms, this is what, that's easy. That is what probably is quantifiable. In your case, sir, I would say that not very easy. Not very difficult.
Actually, it's not about being easy. It's also about the end goal. In your case, the end goal will be branding. And the branding will not be done on a day-to-day or a weekly basis. Visibility, exactly. Sorry, branding is the wrong word. So instead of a weekly thing, it actually will become a 6 months thing. You will see that impact only in 6 months or a year's time when you run those things.
I have seen the effects of digital communication, very regularly. Of course, everybody loses a little bit of weight, somewhere down the line. But that is something that we have to figure out. But I'm just kind of was curious about the analysis. But yeah, like you said, in your case, the analysis is easier. In our case, it's very different. But all I'm interested in is how you have managed to, automate or digitize day-to-day work, the back end, the ops.
Suyash, that's another workshop. Next Bridges, one workshop
Absolutely.
on how to do this. One more.
I'm going to sit on the table here.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to do it now. You have to on AI. So I've got you a business. Yeah. Anybody? Any other thoughts on this? Any other questions? Yeah.
You have to ask them a question. That's a very interesting question about both of them. What would they be?
what would they be? Huh. Yeah. आप बताओ विद्युन जी ये तो एकदम research करके आया. Sorry. You please go ahead. I
so
apologize.
you did send us that question, and I did tell you that I don't know what kind of question is that, but I did give it a thought in the night, and I thought that our product will be it will be kanji. Okay, kanji is like an amuse bouche, right? It surprises you. So Haveli Dharampura, when you're walking in the by lane, you really do not know what you're going to get. So it surprises you, and kanji, when you take one sip, you probably will thinking. And then when you drink it a little more, it grows on you.
Nice.
So I think similarly.
Lovely. What the?
Yes.
Suyash?
I personally haven't thought about it. But if I could say that, and I would say that somewhere I feel that we could relate with a mule. Somewhere, because I feel that the mule is very important as a slow and steady backbone to building something forever. And moving, while they will be moving slowly, steadily, but they're steady, they're dependable, they are going on forever. And yeah, I think that's not a bad, at least for me, I would say that, because you have horses.
Okay, Avijit, Avijit, I want a non-chat GPT answer. With using your cognitive capacity.
I would piggyback off his answer. Say, fabulous Marwadi stallion, which carries the rider, but it is the mule that carries the luggage.
Yeah.
Right? One can't do without the other.
Absolutely. So I think, somewhere I feel that the mule is also important. Yeah.
Shilpa?
I have a completely unrelated comment, but very pertinent for this audience. I think all of us need to think long and hard about being able to tell our stories better. I think what we're really missing in this industry, in this sector, is quality writers. We're all delivering great experiences. We all do the best we can. And I think ChatGPT has also been a bit disappointing as far as I'm concerned in being able to tell my story in a way that I'd like for it to be told. I mean, I have very high standards for writing, and I would never measure up to them. The problem is that I know that there's lots of good people out there who can do a great job. We need to find people who can really put emotion into the stories we tell, because that's what's going to really make people sit up and take notice. For each one of our property partners in this room,
I have
a cooking experience is a cooking experience unless somebody romanticizes it in a way that it becomes, oh my God, I better sign up for this, like right now. And there are people out there who can do it. We have to find them.
I promise you spend one day with me, I'll prove to you that I will get that done.
I agree with what you're saying, Shilpa, but I also think people don't read. And that is with social media. Yeah. And even I don't. I mean, I see a nice image and then I see a lot of text. I don't read it. I'll take a couple of words maybe, but it really is a picture in digital world that a picture tells 1,000 stories. So yes, there probably is space for good written stories, but it's not the digital social media world.
On that, my recommendation for all hoteliers, you don't set up a pool anymore, set up a biophilic studio. That is my... Yeah, sorry. Usna. Yes, Usna.
Sorry, I have nothing to contribute because I'm even worse than Avijit claimed to be, but 100 times worse. But I had a really horrific experience recently, and I remembered it when Shilpa was talking about the quality of writing, and everyone was talking about the need to optimize websites and searches and things like that. So I think I wrote a beautiful website for my hotel, the Penthouse, and I spent hours composing the content on each page and everything. And then I was, a couple of years later, advised to hire a company to optimize Google words and meta tags and all those scary sounding words to make my website more visible, right? So I blindly outsourced it to somebody, and they said, and things improved. We were definitely being more visible and stuff like that. But recently I went back to have a look at the website because I don't check my website every day. And I was horrified because every second word was Kolkata special tour package. And my poetic language about the beauty of Calcutta had every third word replaced with something horribly mundane. And absolutely, it was horrible. It was, boutique, resort, hotel, Park Street area, come enjoy the beauty of and elegance of Glenburn. I mean, it was awful, and I cringed, and I don't even know what the original content was because I wrote it so many years ago, and I'm now stuck, and I don't know what to do. So how do you balance this thing?
By not outsourcing your communication to a keyword optimization agent. No, so that's the point. The techie is not you. You're missing the point that all are saying, that the quality of the content has to come from the source of the expert. So, but once you outsource to a techie, he will do boutique, hotel, some package in Himalayas, Darjeeling. So, and the other paradigm is, I think, is that we must understand that nobody is reading anymore. The video is the new text. So, if you don't understand the paradigm of digital, because if you just look at the number of channels, there is shorts, there's YouTube shorts, there's Insta, there's Twitter, there is video, there is content, blog, online. There's so much of fragmentation of technology, content, platforms. You have to understand that you have to be as much on top of that game as much as the tea estate that you're on top of. And if you're not, then it is tough.
Hi, I'm Jayant, and I am the owner at Camp Tiger Lily. Fairly new in the space, but what I'd like to contribute here is that we talk about sustainability. I think it's important to talk about system design as such overall, right? I mean, so I think when we look at a problem to solve, like Vidyun said, that we should know what the end goal is before we start off solving anything, right? So I think what problem you're trying to solve, and does it, the solution, does it really result in a positive spiral for the future or a negative? An example could be like, acquiring for a music event, right? I mean, via a lead form. An example could, good example would be like Nike doing it direct to consumer, and then realizing that tech has suddenly made people to scrape, examples, people struggling to get a Safari at corporate because there are people who can just scrape the entry, right? Similarly, shoes or your discounted stays, right? So are you really trying to solve the right problem, and do you have the right people in-house to solve that problem? Because it's might as well be just ignoring that problem and solve something which is more pertinent to what you want to, what your purpose is. So I think very important to figure out what the leverage points for your business are, and do you really want to do it? Technically, we should solve all the problems, right? But for any business, it's important that is customer more important, is revenue more important, is sustainability more important, and not jump into solving it, because tech is a double-edged sword, whatever be it, right? I mean, and ChatGPT has shown that if the wrong person is using that tool, you'll end up with a website which might as well not exist, right? Because you might as well have loyal customers who don't need the website, but they go and see your website and say, who's looking care of this website, right? So I think important to figure out what your leverage points are, and do you really want to pick them up and solve, right? So I think.
You're right. My only point to that is, I mean, I'm taking Husna's case, who's built an exceptional property, who tells her stories beautifully, everything. Earlier, she would have to depend on the marketing agency and the brand design and all of that. Now she can tell the story in the most efficient form directly. That is the power that has come to everybody. And what I'm trying to tell all of you is that this is a platform that brings some of the most beautiful stories together. And earlier, there were so many friction points to tell your unique stories. Now those friction points, in fact, Vidyun remembers, 2 years ago, I thopoed on her for 4 hours on this. And now she's set up for her digital. Yeah.
Circling back to the generation next, I know your thing on ChatGPT and AI. I completely agree on this whole thing. I'm also discovering a lot, and this whole facilitation with Ram over 3 days has been about using ChatGPT for a lot of things, and I completely appreciate that. And I think it is who's wielding the pen, right? So that's very, very clear. My one question to you all is, I've seen the changeover, and I've seen, though we miss working with your parents and we call up and say hello and everything, and we do refer back to them when there is something very specific that is needed. you know, like a little historical background about the property and things like that. What is one thing that you have changed in the business, in the way you do business, the way your parents were doing business? And what is one thing that you've taken forward and said, okay, they did this well and we'd like to, you know, this has to continue?
Lovely question.
Very quick answer. I feel that the way my father did business, or is still doing business, was relationship based. There was love, there was relationship, there was loyalty, there was trust, and and I think I've moved to a transactional side, which I don't think that is like my business is, or the way I do business is probably quite transactional, and I don't think that is something that I wish I could take forward, but I feel that the overall landscape is becoming a little transactional, and that relationship-driven business was something that I miss, and I would definitely want to get back to that.
Very nice. I think that's a lovely point.
I think when we started Haveli Dharampura, so I was already in it. So I don't think there has been difference. We all wear different hats, but we've collectively, brought this baby up together. But I think what I do carry forward from my parents and what I try to, I mean, they definitely do it better, is the attention to details, I think. And the second part, which I constantly have learned from my parents, is to build relationships, right? It doesn't come easy to me. So it comes easy to them, but that's not who I am. But it takes effort on my part to do that. But those are the two things I would like to continuously take it forward.
Your father has ability, I mean, his skill of relationship at population scale, right? That even most people don't have.
Yeah, but also I think what I obviously from the perspective of, I think, change, right? I think I have become more adaptable to changing. What he was saying, at different times you're trying to solve different problems. So you need to understand not just your initial goal. Your goal might change every year, and that's okay. And that's what you need to remember.
Lovely. Avijit?
For me, it's for what I did new and differently. So my family is extremely passionate about what they do. At least even now, but especially the previous generations. My father said on numerous occasions that all that he did was guided more by intuition rather than logic.
Yeah.
So what my focus from day one was to bring some logic. Fantastic intuition, but I constantly tried to bring logic into how this would be sustainable and eventually what the dream is for it to become immortal. And at the same time, what I really respect and try and keep what they did is the maintenance of the ritual of work. Yeah. It's very easy that being logical, you forget to be ritualistic. And that has its own intrinsic value, and that is what makes you strong at the core. A small daily habit for my grandfather, then my father after, and what was instilled in me since I was age 14, is to meet personally every single guest who stays at all the hotels. And the value something so small like that added, of the owner family coming and just saying hello, was immense. And it is something that is to be treasured about a product like us. That's what sets us apart. And it is ritualistic. It can get monotonous. It can kind of get repetitive. It is the same conversation you are having with tens of thousands of new faces every day for years on end. It is the same spiel you're giving everyone every day or years on end. But the consistency of that and maintaining your love for what you say adds value over the long run. And that is what I want to preserve.
Beautiful. With that, I think and that is synced to the subhead which says fresh minds, bold models, and a new era of travel begins. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shobha, you want to say? Just like to formally thank everybody. This was the last session of on the final day. The last session of conversations. Like to thank Vidyun, Suyash, and Avijit for a fabulous talk. Yeah. Yeah.
So every morning, the topics we picked up as conversations, which we wanted to, I mean, basically panel discussion, and Ram's intervention and Ram's intervention and the way he moderated really brought a lot of points to the fore. And I thank you, Suyash, for joining this. You're the first person I contacted because I heard you speaking somewhere long time ago. So, I mean, yeah, on that note, thank you, Avijit, thank you, Suyash, thank you, Vidyun. I deal with both of them all the time. Vidyun is like a go-getter. She's taught me a lot of things, and I keep telling people call Vidyun difficult. I tell my team she's not difficult. She's the one who's teaching you the new way. Please listen to what she's saying. And that change in mindset where hoteliers are concerned is a thing I have had to learn after doing, what I'm doing for about 23 years. And I really thank all of you. Thank you again, and look forward to another fabulous day.